Such a beautiful gift to all be together. Beginning with one of our questions that's come in from our family, joining us from all over the world. When is death called a peaceful death? So it's an interesting phrase because death itself is peaceful once we have died. From everything that we've heard, I don't have any personal memory of having died before and what it was like after I died before I was born. But from all of those who do, from all of the sages and the saints and the rishis and who have been able to access that state, even while alive and in the body, so that they could share it with us. Death itself, once we have died, is peaceful. Now, obviously, if you've got karmic things to work out, there's going to be some karmic things to work out. You'll take another birth, and in that birth, you'll work out your karmic things, and those aren't always so peaceful. But that's the karmic package, right? If I'm left with some items in my karmic bank account, when I come back next life, I'm going to have to work through those. Some of them will be sweet, some will be bitter. So a peaceful death doesn't mean and every life thereafter, every minute will always be peaceful. That only happens when we've actually attained that state of moksha, of freedom, of liberation. That's why people bring asti, the ashes, to the banks of Ganga. It's why we perform sacred rites, or if not Ganga, to other sacred rivers. People have so many sacred rivers or other sacred places. But it's why we perform these rites and rituals. Is it said that these help that soul attain that state of oneness with God, where of course it's always peaceful. There's no coming back and struggling again. Those are the prayers of, may my loved one attain liberation. God, unko apni sharar mein rakho. Hold them in your lap, in your refuge. Make them be one with you. Why? Because then they won't have to come back and again go through this. So the concept of peaceful death, I think A, refers to the prior to taking birth experience of death, before we've taken another birth and we come through the birth canal screaming and crying. Before that, that state is peaceful. When we've been in pain in life, it said, well, at least now there is no pain, they are pain-free. The suffering they were experiencing, they are now free of that. And so they are in peace. It's also why we perform Shanti Puja. Even separate from or after an Asti Visurjan, after the Ash immersion, we'll perform a Shanti Puja. It's why we perform all of our ancestral pujas during Shraddh, right? So that may they be in that state of liberation, of moksha, of total peace, of total oneness with God. But when you talk about a death being peaceful, so the actual act of passing being peaceful, because sometimes people will say, well, I know it's very sad that someone has died, but at least they had a peaceful death. You hear that a lot as well. And that really has to do with the state of mind of the person who was dying. It's not so much about how they died as the state of mind of the person who was dying. When someone is grasping on to life for dear life, not wanting to let go, fighting it, that's not going to be a peaceful passing. They may still experience peace after they die. And if they lived a beautiful life, they may absolutely attain that oneness with God. But that moment of passing may not be peaceful if they're not surrendering, if they're fighting it. And that's where spiritually we're taught, quite literally, to prepare for death. All of that hanging on to our egos that we do in life, well, that's what we're going to do in death. A lot of times people think, well, I'll just live this life full of lying and cheating and whatnot, and on my deathbed, because of course they say whatever you're thinking at the time of death, that's going to determine what happens after death. So a lot of times people think, well, I'll just, in those last 5 minutes, I'll be really pious. In those last 30 seconds, I'll just chant God's name. But the truth is, you're only going to live the last few minutes, bless you, exactly how you lived the rest of your life. You don't get a personality transplant on your deathbed. If your life was spent grasping and grabbing and pushing away and fighting and the ego, well, that's exactly what it's going to be on your deathbed. And if your life was spent connected, surrendered, devoted, well, that's what it's going to be like on your deathbed. And that's why we're told, prepare for death while you live. It doesn't mean that we don't try to fight an illness. It doesn't mean that the minute we get a sore throat, we say, Chalo, ye to Bhagwan ki chahe ab main upar ja rahi hoon. We do our best to stay alive, to stay healthy. But there's a moment when you know. And it may be only a few moments before death. It may be a few hours. It may be a few weeks. But where you know, okay, other than God's miracle, this is how it's going to go. And that's when the time really for that surrender comes. But you can only do that if you've lived like that. So in order to have a peaceful death, our mind has to be peaceful throughout our life. When things happen that aren't what we want, do we fight and scream and blame someone? Or do we accept? Not as a doormat, not as complacency that we don't try to change things, but on a deep level, do we accept God's will? Because if we do in life, then we will in passing. And of course, I know the question arises sometimes, well, if somebody's, let's say they were in pain, suffering, and so they put them on, pain medications, or they put them on morphine or something like that. And so that person isn't even in their right mind, or someone's in a coma. Well, that's okay. It's not that that person cannot have a peaceful death. It's not that you have to be medication-free. Very, very, very few people are medication-free at death. The vast majority of people are medicated in some way because they're dying of something that is painful. Whatever it may be, usually death is painful on a physical level. And so they're given pain medicine. And that does not interfere in any way with someone's ability to have a peaceful death. In fact, it may even help it. If someone's not in that state of just total consciousness, total surrender, actually to be medicated so they can be peaceful may actually be a beautiful blessing. And it doesn't have any impact on their karma. It doesn't have any impact on what happens after they die. It just eases that moment. Of course, we all think, God, it will be wonderful if I can just be fully conscious, fully aware, no pain. Some people think I'd like to die in my sleep. Also conscious, but in a different way, no pain. But the truth is, it's not in our hands. It's in the hands of our destiny. And so, this is where we work in our life to maintain that state of peace, to maintain a state of true surrender. Again, not complacency, not a doormat. Doesn't mean we don't act, doesn't mean we don't serve, doesn't mean we don't work. But along with that is just an awareness that may thy will be done. And if we live in a state of joy and a state of acceptance, what we want happens, great. What we want doesn't happen, okay. Something better is going to happen. When we've got that faith and that acceptance, then that stays with us. It stays with us into passing. Does anyone here have any questions? Yes.
How we can overcome anger?
Yeah, you can ask again. Then our family watching online
How
can
we
hear you.
can overcome anger?
So, in order to overcome anger, you've got to address two parts. One is the prevention, and then the other is the immediate treatment. So as we all know medically, prevention is the best cure. Prevention is the best medicine. So how do we prevent anger? Well, we prevent anger by recognizing that that which makes me angry is when my desire is not fulfilled. What I want to happen doesn't happen, I become angry. It's very simple. If what I want to happen happens, I'm not angry. If I didn't care whether it happens or not, I'm not angry. I'm only angry when I want something to happen and it doesn't happen. The universe is not dancing according to my tune. So the prevention is, how can I let go of these attachments to how the universe behaves? if I know that this attachment is going to lead me to misery. Because see, the problem is I have no control over what other people do. I have no control over how other people act. I have no control over the weather. I have no control over earthquakes or tidal waves, right? So if I plan a birthday party and a picnic and it rains, I'm angry. But then you say, well, maybe that attachment to a sunny day wasn't so wise to begin with because I don't really have any control over the weather. And if I'm really, really attached to a sunny day, so attached that if it doesn't happen, I'm angry, not just a little disappointed, well, then I've made a very conscious decision to put my emotional state in the hands of the weather. Like, why would you do that? When we have no control over it, when you can't reason with it, it's not listening to your prayers. It's not like you're saying, oh, clouds, please, just hold back a little longer. They're not listening. So why would you put your mental state in the hands of something that you've got no control over and doesn't listen to you? But whether it's the weather or whether it's someone else, a family member, a friend, an employee, an employer, a colleague, a neighbor, it's really the same situation. We don't have any control over what anyone else does or says. But if I am so attached to how they act, speak, that when they don't do what I want, I'm angry, then I've made that same silly decision. I've said my emotional state is so unimportant that I'm just going to hand it over to someone else's mood. You're in a bad mood? Okay, well, take my happiness with you. Because when you yell, then I'm going to get angry, so my happiness has gone. You're in a bad mood? Take my peace. Because when you insult me, I'm going to be angry. So let me hand you in advance my peace, my joy. Take that along with your bad mood. Why would we do that? If someone is in a bad mood, or someone is full of their own ego, or someone is in ignorance, or in greed, or in lust, or in competition, or whatever they're struggling with, why would you hand them your peace of mind? It makes no sense, right? So the prevention is to say, my peace, my joy, my mental state is in my hands. Whatever other people do, however they act, speak, dress, live, I'm the one with control over my mental state. And I'm going to hold on to that. That's the best prevention. Then you don't even get angry. Then you understand, everybody else is just engaged in their own karmic drama. Sometimes they do things that I like, sometimes they do things I don't like. But either way, I will stay balanced. That's what equanimity is. When we speak about equanimity as a virtue, equanimity says, I'm able to see diversity, variety, and enjoy it all. Like I see an apple tree and an orange tree and a banana tree, and I don't say to the apple tree, why can't you be juicy like the orange? Right? I don't say to the orange tree, why can't you be soft and squishy like the banana? I may have a preference. I may like oranges best. But I'm able to understand that they're all different, and I don't expect them to be like each other. In the same way, I may prefer certain tones of voice. I may prefer certain actions. But I'm not expecting everybody around me to be the same, or to be like I am, or to act like I want. I'm able to see and understand the diversity of people's personalities, of their moods. But the second piece is the treatment. Okay, I'm in the midst of anger, the fever is on, what to do? Very first thing, stop. The moment you realize I have gotten consumed by anger, just stop. You may be mid-sentence. You may be with your hand up like this, about to slap someone. Just stop. The moment you realize. Now, of course, the mind says, "Wo to unko lagega ki I am a silly person." There I was yelling and I stopped mid-sentence. At least I have to finish my sentence, uphold my dignity. But the truth is, when you yell at someone, when you insult them, if you slap them with your hand, with your words, nobody respects you. The idea that somehow people are going to respect me when I yell at them, I mean, raise your hand. Has someone ever yelled at you and based on them yelling, based on them getting angry, suddenly you respect them? Never, right? It's always the opposite. Someone yells at you and you think, wow, right? You may not say anything out of politeness, out of fear, out of just a sense of chalo isko khatam kar do, bolne do. But you certainly don't respect them. So the idea that somehow I have to finish yelling so that I don't lose their respect is actually opposite. Can you imagine that somebody was yelling at you, and in the middle of yelling at you, they stopped, and they said, "I'm sorry for losing my temper. I need a few minutes alone. I'm going to go take a walk." Would you respect them more or less? Right? Would anybody here respect them less? Of course not, right? You'd think, wow, kya insight, right? Beautiful. Really beautiful. So the moment you realize it, just stop. Mid-sentence, mid-word, just stop. Close your eyes. Some people say count to 10. I find that 10 is not long enough. I can stay angry for 10 counts. I'd say count to 30, 40, at least. And slowly. And breathe. With each count, take a breath. And what you will find is, you may still be unhappy about what happened. It doesn't mean that suddenly you're going to say, oh, whatever that person did was great. But you're no longer going to have lost yourself. Now you will be able to respond to the moment with clarity, with coherence, in a way that actually means something, in a way that may actually be able to change things for the future. And you won't have lost yourself. So prevention and treatment, both. But prevention as much as you can. Beautiful. Does anyone else have a question? Yes.
Just pranam to you. I have just came yesterday from Kolkata here, and knowingly everything, I was brought up in Vrindavan, the Krishna's place, but shifted to Calcutta due to some this hunger reason. Anyhow, I want to ask, what is the best way to live a present life, smile like you, and this mind should be free from all outcome and outgoings, so that whatever is doing, how I can accept anyone as he is.
Beautiful. So, yeah, the best way to lead that very pleasant, happy, peaceful life is to let go of the things that steal your peace. So we ask ourselves, what is it that steals my peace? What is it that steals my happiness? So number one, when what I want doesn't happen. And so I say, cello, I'm going to not be attached to it. It doesn't mean I don't care. It doesn't mean that I don't try for something. It doesn't mean I don't have preferences. But it's the ability to say, cello, Bhagwan ki chanita. I guess it wasn't in God's plan. I guess for whatever reason, I was not destined to have an outside picnic today. Because it rained. Okay. What else can we do? It's my birthday. We've planned a picnic, but it rained. What else can we do? And what you realize is, as you take away the attachment, things become much easier. Now, when we say we become detached, it doesn't mean disconnected. It doesn't mean we don't work. We do work. Maybe we work even harder because our mind space is free of the attachment. We work, we try, we pray. We certainly have preferences. If I plan a picnic, I certainly prefer a sunny day to a rainy day. But I recognize in all of this that ultimately my peace of mind, my joy, that smile, is much more important to me than having a picnic outside. It's much more important to me than what someone else is going to say or do, or what the results of some action are going to be. Sure, we try. We have goals. But if my peace, my joy is going to be stolen by some outcome I didn't want, that's not worth it for me. And so it's a real constant choice. I call it choose peace, choose love. It's really a very conscious choice. This person is being obnoxious. They're being rude. Not really, just I'm inventing it. Somebody is being obnoxious. Somebody is being rude. I have two choices. Either I can give them my smile also, give them my peace also, or I cannot. And what I know is my smile, wo kimti cheez hai. It's not something I'm prepared to just give away like that because somebody's mood is off. Somebody's mood is off, okay, it's bad enough already for them. Why should I also give my peace along with it? And so it's a very, very conscious and constant decision in every moment. Something happens and inside you go, ugh. Right? Whether somebody says something or something you're trying, it's not working. And inside you just go, ugh. And then there's that in me, that quick click in moment. Choose peace. Choose love. And I've been doing it for so long that it's quite quick. In the beginning it wasn't so quick, but slowly, slowly you develop a habit. Whenever that happens in the moment, it's just, okay. And I exhale and everything softens and it's like, cello, okay. So here we are. This is that person's drama of the moment. Okay. I can pray for them. I can send them love from my heart. But I am not going to offer up my happiness or my peace on the altar of their bad mood. It's not worth it. And in the same way with things in the world. Things happen, right? I mean, look at COVID. Everybody's lost something, someone, something. We've all lost something in COVID. And we keep losing things. We lost things long before COVID. We'll lose things long after COVID. But it's a very present example in the moment. Nobody wanted this to happen. This was not on anybody's agenda. Wish list for 2020 or wish list for 2021 or now wish list for 2022. But here it is. Just like so many things that were not on our wish list that show up. And the question becomes, okay, now that it's here, what do I do? How can I stay peaceful, joyful, loving in the midst of something that I don't really have any control over? Again, we do our best, we stay safe. But as far as my mind and a global pandemic, I can pray. But I'm not expecting that my particular mind is going to cause this global pandemic to end in the next hour. I would love it. I'd love the magic wand. But if it doesn't happen, I'm not going to lose my sleep or lose my ability to eat dinner. Because then there's no point. Then everything that happens in the world that isn't what I want, I lose my peace. So, excuse me. So, you choose. You choose peace. You choose love. Whatever happens, you've got that power. Pujya Swamiji, my guru, always says, you've got the veto power. Right? That veto of power is yours. You can veto. Veto the anger. Veto the frustration. Veto all of that. Not by repressing it, not by denying it, not by pushing it down, but by simply choosing separately. I don't want it. I'm going to live in peace. I'm going to live in joy. And it doesn't mean there's not sadness. There's sadness. But there's a lot less anger. A lot less frustration. And then you find that you're able to stay peaceful, to keep smiling. To live a life that feels really, as you say, pleasant, joyful. It's up to you. It's not that the universe is going to give you what you want and then life becomes pleasant. You choose that whatever I've got, I'm going to feel pleasant about it.
Always feeling the stress. All family members.
Yeah.
Why are you living in so stress every day?
Exactly. Exactly. So this is what I'm saying. That stress is what's killing you. Choose peace. When you have a thought of stress, now the stress comes, agar ye hoga to kya hoga, right? So you plan. The first thing we do is plan, because being peaceful doesn't mean that we don't take care. Stress is normal. if someone gets sick, if we get fired from our job, if we lose our money, if the house burns down, what's going to happen? So obviously we plan. It's not that we live reckless lives. We plan, we do our best. Our absolute best to stay healthy. Diversify our money so if one stock crashes, we don't lose everything, right? I mean, these are things that people do to take care of things. We take, eat well for our health. Here's what we do for money. Keep our job. We're nice to the boss. We do what they tell us, right? I mean, you do the things to prevent what you're afraid of to your best ability. You don't leave diyas burning in a wood house, right? You make sure that you're there in front of it while it burns. If you've got to go out, you extinguish it before you leave. You don't leave candles burning, diyas burning in a house. So we make smart decisions to prevent what we are afraid of from happening. But ultimately we realize it's in the hands of the divine. And so you do your best. Yeah. I know. It would be so nice to be in control, no? I know. It's not easy. It's not easy. There's a lot to be stressed about. I know. But your stress doesn't actually do anything. Your stress does not prevent anyone from dying, prevent the stock market from crashing, doesn't prevent you from losing your job or the house from burning down. It actually just kills you while you're still alive. And it ruins every moment that you do have. So do whatever you can to address the things that you're afraid of. Whatever it is that causes you the most stress, take action to prevent that. What can you do to prevent those things from happening to the best of your ability? And then Baki, we leave it in God's hands. Because the truth is, after we've done our best, there's nothing else we can do anyway. If I had a magic mantra for control, I would give it to you. But I don't. The only mantra that I have is for peace. But not the magic wand for control. Yeah. Choose peace. Just choose it. When that stress arises, just choose the peace. You've got a choice in that moment. Take a lot of deep breaths. Chant a mantra. Pray. Listen to beautiful, beautiful music. Engage in seva. Do service, help others. Do something that's actively making the world a better place in that moment. It'll change your whole mental framework. And when you're stressed, just notice it. Okay, I'm stressed right now. Okay. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. Doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. Have compassion for yourself also. You're stressed because you care. You're stressed because you want to protect people around you. You don't want bad things to happen to them. So have compassion for yourself also. For the one who's trying so hard to take care of everything. Have compassion for that man. And just notice the stress, okay? Stress is here again, okay? Give yourself a big hug in those moments, really. If someone is around to give you a hug, even better, but if not, just give yourself a really big hug. It's okay. And then do something that'll help someone. Because at least that you've got some control over. Okay? Wonderful. That's all I can ask. And the more you do it, the better at it you'll get. It'll become a habit. Beautiful. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evening, everyone. And a beautiful morning and day to our family from all over the world. And so much love to you all.